Mercury. Hey dog. Sorry about that, but can you do us a favor and elaborate on your statement about meditating being
I was
dangerous?
going to tell you to say that.
Sigil, not exactly dangerous per se, but it does appear that there have been many instances where those who practiced meditation did not realize they were being monitored by government officials in terms of their private activities, so we were able to discover new aspects of human nature that are hidden from public view due to laws protecting their privacy or freedom of speech rights, as well as other constitutional amendments for individual liberties, including free speech rights like the First Amendment, which protects the right to assemble with others peacefully, but it also puts constraints on us when it comes to tracking movements within communities, because it provides protection to people who may pose threats to local communities, but it also prevents us from pursuing investigations based on intelligence information about individuals or organizations like militias who want to attack innocent citizens for unknown reasons. But if we could trace where they were going, then we could possibly intercept any terrorist activities they plan or track down their hideout locations where they would likely plan their operations, such as executing violent attacks against civilians for ideological reasons or personal gain by threatening their family members. But again, there is an exception when it comes to tracking any potential threats towards national security by preventing any known acts of terror by Al-Qaeda or ISIS. But what happens when you combine these different laws together? You end up with what is known as the Patriot Act, where we are given permission to do whatever we want as long as we can prove it was needed by law enforcement officials, because the government doesn't want anyone questioning its motives when it comes to tracking down criminals who break the law, so they are more willing to grant these powers to us because we have proven to be effective in catching criminals and putting them away from harming others while protecting our rights and freedoms while ensuring public safety. So there is nothing to fear because it doesn't violate any of our civil rights, nor do we have a problem with this as long as they continue doing their job properly without harassing others or interfering with innocent civilians who are just trying to lead normal lives. But this has led to increased surveillance by our government because they are so busy monitoring every citizen who lives in our country, like drones that watch everything we do without revealing what they know. But now these drones are becoming part of our daily lives, so it is nearly impossible for us to remain unknown to them, especially since they are connected to each other via Wi-Fi, so we cannot hide anything from them even if we wanted to. So now they are watching everything we say, read, write, type, 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 type,
Hermes? Okay.
type,
Try to
type,
follow.
type, 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 type.
I mean, I've known this since 2003. My life is based on this.
Type, 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 type.
Everything I do, everything I output. That's why I'm so worried.
Mercury.
Oh,
Yeah, obvious. We know that. Hey, Doy. But I am talking about folks who experience adverse effects due to trauma in their lives. Sigil. Well, yes, there are definitely instances where practicing meditation can lead to negative side effects like depression or anxiety disorders. or even post-traumatic stress disorders, PTSD, or other mental disorders like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, and sometimes it even leads to paranoia. And sometimes these side effects may be triggered by traumatic events within someone's life, which may not necessarily be their fault since they were just caught up in circumstances beyond their control, which leaves them vulnerable to experiencing symptoms such as flashbacks where they have relived painful memories they experienced during these traumatic events again and again. Sometimes these symptoms lead to long-lasting symptoms such as social phobia, which includes an inability to speak up when asked questions or initiate new conversations, especially when meeting new people like co-workers or neighbors or even customers
They
at
might
a
be
store,
spies.
where they don't want to talk because they don't want to say something wrong, but then other times it leads to worse side effects such as delusional beliefs and even hallucinations like hearing voices talking to you in your head, which can make you feel like there is something wrong with you, so you run away from your home, where they begin telling you things like they hate you or you deserve it, which makes you feel even worse than before, especially if it comes from someone close to you, such as your own mother, who tells you things like, I will always love you, and it wasn't your fault, even when they know it was their fault because they didn't raise you correctly, so they hate themselves for having children and wishing that they didn't have any, because then they could spend their entire lives sleeping on floor, but it wasn't your fault. But she blames herself for having sex with your father, and she blames herself for having your sister, and she blames herself for being too weak to stop him from killing himself when he hit her, and she blames herself for not being able to protect you from those monsters who raped her, but she didn't do anything wrong, but you weren't good enough for her, and she knows that, so she hates herself because she thinks she doesn't deserve love, so she cuts off all ties with her family, including you, just to try to protect you from what they've done. But now she won't speak to anyone even though she loves them so much, because she blames herself for how they are now, or maybe she tells herself it is okay because they love her no matter what happens in their lives, and she deserves all the shit they've given her over the years. Or maybe she tries to convince herself that maybe she shouldn't have married him, or maybe she tried to fight back against all those men, but she was just too weak, so she couldn't stop them from raping her, like all those times she didn't fight back when they told her not to fight, when they put their hands on her, so she wasn't brave enough to do anything about it. Mercury! Doc! Jesus Christ, dude! Slow down! What is going on? What are you talking about? Sejal. She keeps telling herself that she did nothing wrong and it wasn't her fault, that her father used to abuse her all the time, but he just took his frustrations out on her because she was just a kid, but he didn't mean. No, find 'em. Javits Center is HIPAA compliant. Thanks. So we've had a most informative first half of today's program where we discussed many topics pertaining to AI.